Well, in a top story today, 2 Russian warships from the Pacific Fleet have entered the Red Sea. And this comes amid attacks by Yemen's Houthis on merchant shipping in a region already crowded with naval vessels.
Now, the Russian Navy's Pacific Fleet said that the Russian cruiser, that's Varyag, and frigate Marshal Shapashnikov are taking part in the voyage. The 2 warships have passed the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into the Red Sea, and this move has forced many ship owners and operators to suspend the Suez Canal or the Red Sea route for transporting goods from Europe to Asia and vice versa.
TASS has reported that the ships were carrying out assigned tasks within the framework of the Long-Range Sea Campaign. The ultimate destination of the ships was unclear from the report, as was the reason Russia sent these vessels to the area. Now, Houthis have been targeting vessels to prevent Israeli-linked ships from passing through the Indian Ocean.
According to reports, the group told China and Russia earlier this month that their ships can sail through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden without being attacked. And this was in exchange for the 2 countries providing political support to the Houthis in bodies such as the United Nations Security Council.
However, the U.S. Central Command reported about the Houthis firing a missile at Chinese-owned oil tanker Huangpu. CENTCOM highlighted continued risks to shipping in the seas of Yemen despite the agreement.
Now, this also comes after Iran, Russia and China held joint naval exercises in the Indian Ocean earlier this month. Both Varyag and the Marshal Shapashnikov took part in the drills, which Russia said were meant to practice safety in maritime economic activities.
Now, the Iran-backed militias have been attacking ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden since November, calling it a campaign of solidarity with Palestinians during Israel's war with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Months of Houthi attacks in the Red Sea have disrupted global shipping and has forced shipping firms to be rerouted to longer and more expensive journeys around the southern Africa.
The sound of war never stops in Ukraine. In the past day, Russian attacks have damaged Ukrainian energy plants as well as striking cities across the country. These videos from the Russian Defense Ministry do not say where they were filmed, but where their barrage landed is clear, such as here in Zaporizhia, or this apartment block in Mykolaiv, or here in Kharkiv, the first aerial bombardment of the city in 2 years.
It seems the attack was carried out using a new type of weapon, something between a guided aerial bomb and a missile. It's like a flying bomb.
With Moscow attacking the north, south and east, what if they move to the west, with Poland this morning scrambling fighter jets following Russia's missile strikes, and the Polish Prime Minister warning that Europe was now in a pre-war era, and that the continent was not yet ready to face a fight the people of Ukraine are currently bearing, many paying with their lives. Donald Tusk was speaking during his trip to Kyiv, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine's Prime Minister. But his language today is perhaps a sign that it's France's Emmanuel Macron who is rubbing off on him. 2 weeks ago, Macron and Tusk met in Berlin, alongside the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Macron has said Western nations must not rule out sending troops to Ukraine, and that Europe's future and security was at stake. Tusk and Macron are not alone in warning of the need to spend more on defence. Latvia this week celebrated 20 years of NATO membership, and the Baltic nation recently reintroduced conscription. Alongside its neighbours Estonia and Lithuania, they all exceed the NATO target of spending at least 2% of GDP on defence, a target yet to be met by France or Germany.
The issue is that Russia has larger ambitions than Ukraine. We know that. And therefore the alliance as a whole needs to be readier, because we agreed to see Russia as a threat.
Vladimir Putin this week said the idea Moscow would attack NATO was nonsense. Yet this is the same leader who recently said he was redeploying Russian forces along the border with Finland, and the same leader who's blaming Kyiv for the Moscow concert attack without any evidence. That blame game may account for Russia's recent onslaught across Ukraine. Donald Tusk today called for more urgent aid for Kyiv, saying this was the most critical moment since the end of the Second World War. Hyperbole or not, just ask the people picking up the pieces in Kharkiv and beyond.
Breaking news. Syrian state media are reporting Israel has conducted a rare daytime strike next to the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Reuters is citing Lebanese security sources saying that the airstrike killed a senior Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps leader, Mohammad Reza Zahedi. In 2010, you should know the U.S. Treasury sanctioned Zahedi, calling him the commander of the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force in Lebanon. And he played a key role in Iran's support to Hezbollah. So much more we can learn about him. What we want to know now is, did Israel hit a target that it wanted to? Trey Yings has details. Trey, from the ground, what's happening?
Yeah, Harris, good morning. This is an extremely significant development. According to Syrian state media, Mohammad Zahedi, one of the leaders of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, a commander that was involved in the weapon shipments for Iran to groups like Hezbollah and Iran-backed Syrian Shia militias, has been targeted in an Israeli airstrike this afternoon in Damascus, Syria. We have seen some of the aftermath video next to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, indicating a massive explosion took place. Zahedi, one of the commanders very close to Ismail Khani, the general in charge of all Iranian activity across the Middle East. Now, if this is confirmed by the Iranians, we should be very clear what took place here. According to reports, an Israeli airstrike took out one of the top Iranian generals in the Middle East, targeting a facility linked to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria. This is one of the most significant developments of the conflict so far, and it will have repercussions across the Middle East. We are waiting to hear from Iranian officials in Tehran. The Israeli military has not yet commented on the strike. And again, we are sourcing this information to Syrian state media. But the latest information that we have, Mohammad Zahedi, this top Iranian general, appears to have been killed in an Israeli strike this afternoon. Harris.
All right, you talk about repercussions, consequences. What do you mean? What will that look like? What could it look like?
Israeli forces will likely be on high alert throughout the day and into this evening. We should look back at recent history to see the types of responses the Iranians have conducted when their top generals have been targeted in similar strikes. We know that back in 2020, outside of Baghdad's international airport, when the Americans killed top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, the Iranians fired ballistic missiles toward a U.S. base in western Iraq, the Al-Assad air base. Now, we don't know if there will be a similar response to this targeted assassination today in Damascus, but it is an indication that the Israelis will have to remain on high alert, understanding that Iranian proxies in places like southern Lebanon could be further activated, as they already have been throughout the conflict over the past 177 days, and possibly respond to this strike.
So, Trey, I want to get into this a little bit because, you know, we've been hit north of 150, 60, 70 times, our troops in the Middle East. And you talk about a move that helps the United States by taking out a commander that reloads with ammunition and does a whole lot of damage for the Quds Force of the Iran Revolutionary Guard. You talk about somebody with that kind of power. That, no doubt, helps our cause as well.
سفارتخونه جزء خاک یک کشور محسوب میشه و قطعاً باید پاسخ سختی بهش داده بشه. اینکه ساکت بشینیم اصلاً دلیل خوبی نیست و کار درستی نیست. به خاطر اینکه به خودش رو میده و جرأت میده که مواضع بیشتری رو مورد حرف بده، چرا دفعه بعدی تهران نه. و باید انتقام سختی گرفته بشه.
به نظر من دیگه چون اسرائیل حمله مستقیم کرده به عبارت اعلام جنگ کرده دیگه، به نظر من دیگه باید اقدام علنی آشکار باشه. اینکه مثلا نیابتی بریم یه جای پایگاهش رو توی کشور دیگه بزنیم، به نظر من جواب نمیده.
שנים שאיראן פועלת נגדנו, גם באופן ישיר וגם באמצעות השליחים שלה. ולכן ישראל פועלת נגד איראן והשליחים שלה, גם בהגנה וגם בהתקפה. אנחנו נדע להגן על עצמנו, ואנחנו נפעל לפי העיקרון הפשוט, שמי שפוגע בנו או מתכנן לפגוע בנו, אנחנו נפגע בו.